Hi, it's Alexis Hasselberger, time management and productivity coach. So we all self-sabotage from time to time, right? We don't want to do it. We do it. Um, and we know we can learn from that. We can make a better choice next time, right? This happens. Today, I want to talk about something that is a little sneakier, a little bit different. And this is when we are self-sabotaging without our knowledge, right? The things that we're doing, they feel like the right things to do. We don't think that we're self-sabotaging. We don't think we're setting ourselves back. We don't think that we're, stopping ourselves from meeting our goals. But the behaviors that we are engaging in, they actually do just that, even though it seems like the opposite. So I want to talk about what these three natural instincts are, these three things that can kind of keep you stuck or hold you back without your knowledge if you're not too careful. I want to share these with you because I wonder if you see some of these in yourself. Now, I have certainly seen some of these in myself before, which is probably why I am thinking about these now. And there are ways to move on from these once you recognize these kind of behaviors in yourself. So, what are these three? So, the first one is agreeing to best case scenario deadlines or timelines. So this is something where maybe you're even suggesting these timelines or deadlines, or somebody else is suggesting something to you and you are agreeing with it because optimistically it seems like, yes, you want to get it done on this date. So here's what I'm talking about. Somebody, comes to you and they say, hey, I have this thing. I'd like you to do it. When do you think you could get it done by? Right. And you look at the thing and you might even look at your calendar and you say, you know what? I think I can get that done by the end of tomorrow. Right. This is a best case scenario. You're thinking like, yeah, with what I know right now, I'll be able to get this done. Right. What happens then? Right. Things always come up. Things always take longer than we think. And we need that buffer in there. So instead of doing the thing that feels good in the moment, right? Where we're like, yes, I can get that to you fast, right? We want to be fast. We want to be liked. We want to seem good at our jobs, right? Instead of saying like the fastest timeline, the earliest case scenario that something can get done, you want to actually give yourself a little bit of buffer. Now, this doesn't feel as good in the moment, right? Because you wanted to be fast, but it is going to be so much better later because it's realistic, right? So if you are agreeing to or suggesting any type of deadlines, you want to give yourself a little bit of buffer because it is always better to finish something early than the opposite. If you don't have enough time, one of three things are going to be happening. You're going to be missing a deadline, you are going to be working late to make it happen, or you're going to be asking for more time to move that deadline, right? Neither of these or none of these are great scenarios. Much better to be able to do the thing that we said we were going to do by when we said we were going to do it. That's just clearer to everyone. And I will say, this is something that comes up in a lot of workshops that I give for companies. People come up to me and they say, but like, won't I look bad if, it's a simple thing and I give someone a, timeline that's a few days from now? Like, won't that look bad? Won't that reflect poorly on me? And my answer is always no. Of all of the people I've managed, of all the colleagues I've had over my career, the people who I want to work with over and over and over again are the people who gave realistic timelines, the people who did what they said they were going to do by when they said they were going to do it, the people who were accountable. Now, sometimes maybe they came back and they were able to pleasantly surprise me and say, actually, I had some extra time and I was able to get this thing done, a day earlier, or a couple days earlier than intended. That is a pleasant surprise versus the opposite, where we're kind of scrambling at the last minute or, it's not being done on time. So this instinct that we have to give someone the best case scenario timeline, this is not usually self-serving, right? It feels like the right thing at the time, but it's usually not. Now, what's the second one? So the second one, and this comes up all the time, is just not tracking what we're doing in the moment. So I'm not talking about time tracking or anything like that. I'm just saying that like when we are, let's say you have a task system, and you are doing things all day long, and then you get to the end of the day and you're like, oh, now I have to go update my task system, right? Instead of doing a task, updating the task, moving on to the next task, right? Often we say, I don't have time to update things in the moment, right? I'm moving from meeting to meeting to meeting. I've got a million things coming at me every which way. I don't have time to keep track of things in the moment, right? Maybe I'm jotting things down and hoping I'm going to be able to find them later, but it just feels like I don't have time in the moment to write things down, to get things into my system, to make sure that those things stay updated. And this, I get it. It feels like this. It really does. And therefore, it feels like later is a better time. But I promise you it's not. And here's why. it is going to take longer if you do it later, right? So if you find yourself at the end of the day staring at your task system and thinking, okay, I've got to update what's happened today, right? You're going to miss things, right? There will be things that, kind of went right by you and you were engaged in another conversation and then you never wrote them down. So they're never getting it, right? There will also be things that you're like, you know what? Did I actually send that email? I don't even remember. That was 8 hours ago. I'm going to have to go look in my sent mail and see if it actually went. That's going to take you longer because, when you were writing the email, you did it. But 6 hours later, 8 hours later, you're like, I don't know, so many things have happened. Did that even go out? I'm not sure. So you have to go look things up, right? Or you have to later, you're starting to work on something and you're like, where did I leave off? Where is the document for this thing, right? These things will take you so much longer later than if you take 10 seconds to update them in the moment. And so this is something that just comes up all the time. People say like, this is a lot of effort, right? To write things down. And I get that, but it is so much more effort to do it later than to do it right now in the moment. Now, the third natural instinct, the third self-sabotaging sneaky thing that comes up from time to time, and for a lot of folks, is actually kind of the logical conclusion of the last one. So what happens if you update things later instead of updating them in the moment and updating them now? Right. And what happens is you can start to abandon your task system when things get busy. I've seen this over and over again. People had a system, it was working great, and then things got busy and it was just completely abandoned. Right. And what happens is, maybe sometimes it wasn't all at once. Maybe it was, they didn't update things yesterday in the moment, and now they have to do it at the evening, and that doesn't seem fun. So they're not going to do it. And then, the next day, now a bunch of stuff is overdue. So it feels like, is this even that useful anymore? And it just kind of carries on like that until your system is kind of completely abandoned and you're back to old ways. You're just kind of reacting, doing things as they come, right? And this feels in the moment like, how could I devote any time to maintaining my system at all when I have so many things to do, more things to do than I can imagine? How could I possibly devote any time to keeping track of them, right? I just have to do them. It doesn't make sense for me to spend time managing the things when I could be doing the things, right? This makes sense on the face of it. But here's what happens. You, me, everyone else, we all have too much to do, right? Maybe not in every single moment, but in many moments, most moments, we have too much to do. There are more things that are on our plate that we want to do, that we should do, that we feel like we have to do, et cetera, than it is actually possible to do. And so what this means is that deciding, planning what to do, knowing what's on your plate, and making prioritization decisions around that is actually the most important thing you can do. It's the most important work you can do to move things forward. Because when we have too many things to do and we're just doing them, we're not necessarily making the right decisions, right? We're not making thought through decisions about what we should be spending our time on, what we should be focusing on. And that can lead to something that I call like letting the day happen to you, right? Where you have been working hard all day long, right? You haven't been messing around. You didn't do any online shopping. You weren't on Instagram, whatever. You've been working. And yet you get to the end of the day and nothing can be crossed off your task list, right? You were reacting to things, but you weren't making progress on the things that were actually part of your goals that you had intended to do, right? And so this is, I think it's just so common. It really feels like in the moment, how could we spend 10 seconds or 10 minutes managing the things that we have to do, making prioritization decisions around them, updating them, et cetera? How could we do that when we have so many things to do? But I come back to how can we not, right? Because if I just spent time doing all the things that came to me without managing an external system for that stuff, I would feel overwhelmed all of the time. And I would be doing the wrong things that were not moving things forward, right? So those are these three things that are like totally normal to feel, totally normal to do. I think most of them have done them either now at some point in time, maybe in the past, or you can imagine yourself doing them in the future, right? You've done these things and they're not exactly serving you. So I want you to think about for yourself, are any of these three categories something that has happened to me in the past, that I have done in the past? Are these things something that I could think about doing a little differently going forward? And that might help me from being stuck in a place where I feel like I'm just on a hamster wheel. Now, I want you to be able to come away feeling empowered to make some small changes for yourself, right? To make change and maybe big changes for yourself as well. I also just want to mention that really briefly, if you're interested in getting some help with these types of things, I am available, right? I do one-on-one coaching. I have limited spots available there, but actually my Time Well Spent program, my group coaching program that I run twice a year, that is actually going to be enrolling over the next week and a half, and it will be starting in mid-September. So if that's something that you're interested in exploring at all, there is a link down below. And if not, if you've gotten everything you need from this video and you feel empowered to go make some changes on your own, then I couldn't be happier. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, always let me know in the comments.
Hey guys, video editor here. Just wanted to check in and say that only about 20% of the people that watch us are actually subscribed. So it'd be a great, big, and huge deal if you could subscribe, and it would really help the channel.